Hey, what's going on everybody? Hope that you're doing well. Today we're going to talk about multicam editing and how that can help if you're shooting with multiple cameras. So let's go ahead and get into that. But first, I gotta set up a second camera. I guess I'll just use this lens right here. Sweet. So multicam editing. What are you going to need for multicam editing? So let me give you my rundown. So you're going to need multiple cameras. So we have 2 cameras set up and maybe you have more. I like to have external audio as well. So that way I can sync them all together and get really good audio because, camera audio just isn't the greatest thing. Let's go ahead and talk about situations where you might need to use multiple cameras. So sometimes when you're doing interviews, you need 2 cameras to make it more interesting. You have your locked off shot right here, and then maybe you have a different angle like a close-up over here, or maybe it's on a slider. It just depends on the gear that you have and if you have multiple cameras. Now recently I shot a music video and I also shot a live performance and I used multiple cameras. For the live performance I used 4 different cameras, and for the music video I actually only used 2 cameras, but I got multiple different angles going. So those are just different situations that you would need multiple cameras. So now if you are shooting multiple cameras, you're going to need a way to sync both of the cameras or however many cameras you have together. Now there's different ways of doing that. There's software that you can use. Adobe Premiere actually has a tool built into the program that will synchronize the video and audio together. It works pretty well. There is another third-party program that I've used. It's called Pluralize. It's from Red Giant. Definitely check that one out. It's pretty awesome. It takes all of your clips and just kind of puts them where they need to be. I use that for the live performance. For the music video, I actually use what was in Adobe Premiere. Now, if you wanted to manually synchronize your clips, you would need some type of indication where to start the clip. And most of the time people use a clapper or a slate. It's those things that go like this. Or if you're on a low budget and you don't have one, just clap your hands together. It gives you a visual cue and an audio cue so you know where to match up the clips. So once you have Adobe Premiere open and you have your project all set up, you're going to go ahead and drag in your clips. I like to organize mine by bin, so I have each camera as its own separate bin. And since I have external audio, I'm going to go ahead and put that in its own bin. Next, what you're going to do is select all of the clips that you want in the sequence. You're going to right click and then pick Create Multicam Source Sequence. What that's going to do is it's going to have a pop-up there. And at the top you can create your own name. You have different options, like you can have video clip name plus whatever you want, or audio clip name plus whatever you want, or just custom, so you can just have it be whatever you want to name it. So next you can sync everything by an in point or an out point. We're going to go ahead and pick audio. It works pretty well. Sometimes it slips a little bit, but you can go in and fix that later. So I'm going to go ahead and choose audio since I want to kind of match everything up with the audio. I'm going to go ahead and turn off Move Source Clips to Process Clip Bins. The reason why I'm doing that is because I have everything organized the way that I want it, and I don't want it to move all my source clips into a separate bin. Now the rest of the settings you can mess with if you want. I don't really mess with them because I don't need to. Another way that you can sync everything is through timecode. So if you have timecode jammed into both cameras, that is definitely a way to do it, or you can do the audio timecode, but that's kind of more of a big budget thing. For smaller people like me, I don't have the ability to jam timecode into both of my cameras and my audio, so I'm gonna just go ahead and go with the sync everything to the audio. So now that I have all my settings correct, the way that I want it to sync, I'm going to go ahead and press OK, and what that's going to do is it's going to process the video and the audio and sync it all up, and once it's done, it's going to create a multicam sequence for us. So in my project bin over here, I have my multicam sequence. It's going to be named whatever you named it. I'm going to go ahead and right click on it and I'm going to say open in timeline because we want to see what's going on with it. So it's going to show your video clips on different tracks and your audio clip on different tracks. And if you used an external recorder, then it's going to have that extra audio in there. Now what we want to do is, since I'm going to be using the external audio as my main audio, I'm going to go ahead and solo that one. And then I'm going to solo each track and make sure that it sounds synced up. So I'm going to go ahead and play back here. Now, if you are shooting multiple cameras, and then I'm going to go ahead and go to the next camera and I'm going to play back that and see what that does. You're going to need a way to sync both of the cameras or how. And if I feel comfortable with all of that, then there's really nothing to change. So I'm going to say that's pretty good. So next, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this multicam sequence. So once I have it duplicated, I'm going to go ahead and open it up, and I'm going to delete the camera audio because I don't actually want to use that. I'm going to move the source audio up to the top so I know that it's going to be using that audio. So next what we're going to do is we're going to start cutting with this multicam sequence. So go ahead and create a new sequence and name it whatever you want, choose whatever settings you need to, and then we're going to go ahead and drag the multicam sequence into our new sequence. And what that's going to show is a green bar there and then our audio as well. Now, one thing to keep in mind if you are using multicam sequence, it can be a lot of strain on your computer. So if you don't have a hefty computer, you might need to use proxy files. And I've had to use that for both of my projects because my computer is just not the best. And I used 4 cameras on one of the projects, and I'll get to the other one, the music video. That was definitely tough for my computer. But go ahead and create the proxies if you need to. I actually have a video explaining how to create proxies. I'll put that up here, wherever it goes, so you can check that out. So now that we have everything set up in our sequence, we need to enable multicam. And so where that is inside of your program monitor here on the top right or wherever you have it. There's your little toolbar at the bottom. It should have like play and all of those options there. There's this little symbol right here that enables multicam. And if you don't have that there, on the right side there's a plus option, and you can go ahead and find it and drag it into your toolbar. It's definitely handy to have there if you do a lot of multicam work. So once you enable that, in the program monitor, it's going to split it into 2 basically. On the left side, you have all of your cameras, and on the right side, it's going to be your active program. So that's going to be what's being shown. So let's go ahead and just kind of play through it. We're not going to choose any cameras yet, and we just want to get an idea of what we captured and where we might want to cut. So once you've done that, now it's time for us to start cutting. Play back through a few times if you don't feel comfortable of what you kind of want to do. It's definitely helpful to do that beforehand so you know like kind of what footage you've got. But since we're only using 2 cameras here, I'm going to go ahead and just start. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play, and I'm going to choose my first camera here, and then maybe I'll cut to the second camera. And basically all I'm doing is I'm just pointing and clicking at which camera I want to go to. Now you can set that up as keyboard shortcuts as well, so you can have like 1 and 2 as your cameras, and you just hit those shortcuts. It's definitely helpful if you do a lot of multicam work. So here's our cut, and basically maybe you made a few mistakes, like you wanted it to cut sooner than later. Well, that's okay because we're going to go ahead and refine all of that. So once you have a cut, basically we're going to go ahead and fix some of these issues. I'm going to use the rolling edit tool. I have it mapped in on my keyboard. It might be different on yours, but basically it's going to slide the cuts left and right depending on where we want it. So it's going to extend one and shorten the other. So let's go ahead and fix some of these edits here. Basically, you're going to go through your timeline and just make sure that it cuts the way that you want it. Now, maybe there's a camera angle that you don't like, and maybe it's something that, you know, just doesn't really fit right. Well, if you have multicam still up, you can see your other cameras. Now, on that clip, you can actually just click whatever camera it is that you want to go to, and it should change down in your timeline. You can also go and right click onto that clip and go to multicam and choose which camera you want it to go to, and that's definitely helpful. So now you just want to make sure that your cut's the way that you want it. You know, you don't want anything weird, because what we're going to do next is we're going to actually flatten all of the clips so it's just pulling from the source and not from the multicam. But before we do that, we want to actually duplicate this sequence because we want to actually, just in case, have a backup of this if we need to go back to it. So let's go ahead and duplicate that sequence, open up the new one, rename it to whatever you'd like, and then let's go ahead and select all of the clips. we're gonna right click, go to Multicam, and hit flatten, and so that just chooses our source clips. At this point, it's totally up to you with what you want to do. Normally at this point, I just add in all my effects that I want and just play it back and make sure that this is exactly what I want. If you don't feel comfortable with that cut, it might be best to go back to that sequence of the multicam and just kind of start refining it and just making it the way that you want it. Basically, this just cuts down a lot of time from going from one camera to the other, back to the other camera. Multicam is definitely helpful if you have multiple cameras. So let's talk about a couple projects that I've worked on that I've actually used multicam on. So I shot a live performance for my friend's band, and basically it was an hour long, and I wanted to get as many camera angles as I could. So I had 4 cameras with me. I had my Blackmagic Cinema camera, the Canon 60D, a GoPro, and a Sony a6300, which was my friend's camera. So I had one helper with me, and basically I gave him 2 cameras. I gave him the Blackmagic and the Canon, so that way he could get like a close-up, and then we could get like a wide shot of like the venue and everything. And then I took the GoPro and the Sony a6300, and I went on the other side of the building and I captured from that side to get close-ups or whatever I could get, and then the GoPro just kind of sat there just to get the whole band. Now, I threw that onto my project, and since it was an hour long, multicam definitely helped out because I was able to see all the cameras right away and just kind of pick and choose what I wanted to as the songs went along. And then, like I said, I'd go back and refine it and just kind of move the clips around or maybe choose different cameras. It was definitely helpful because I can get the project done much faster than having to go through all the clips. So I'm going to take you kind of through my music video real quick just to show you kind of the layout of it. I used 2 cameras. I used my Blackmagic Cinema camera and a Sony a6300, which was a friend's camera. And basically we recorded the band inside of this warehouse, and we only shot those 2 cameras. But we played back multiple times so we could get different angles, and we ended up with 25 different camera angles. And so that's definitely a lot to cut with. Now, if I didn't use multicam, then I would have to go through every single clip and try to find the best spots and just throw them into a timeline, and, you know, then have to sort all of that. And as you can see, it could take days and days and days to just kind of sort through all of it and still not even have a music video. But since I was able to go ahead and use multicam, I was able to see all of my clips, and I was able to just pick where I needed those cuts to be. Now, like I said before, it's kind of best to just sit there and play back through all the clips first, so you kind of know what you got before you start picking cameras and all of that. So with 25 camera angles, that put a lot of stress on my computer. It just wasn't able to handle it. So I had to create very small proxy files. I had to link those to my source clips, and then I had to actually have the playback turned down to an 1/8. So nothing really looked that great, but after watching all of those clips over and over, I was able to actually start cutting. And with multicam, like, I got this project done way faster than anybody anticipated. The band was very happy that it only took me a couple days to actually edit it and get them a first cut. And then after that, it was just applying effects and then trying to render the thing out. My computer is terrible at rendering this out for some reason. Just with the effects applied, it just took forever. And that took longer than actually cutting the project, but that's a whole nother story. But I hope this video helped, and maybe you shoot multiple cameras and multicam can definitely help you out. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button if you liked the video, subscribe if you'd like to, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.